So I just got back from beautiful Palm Sunday Mass today, and it just makes me reflect on the things going on in my life and, comparing it to actually like what Jesus himself went through. And it kind of gives me a little bit of peace. So I'm going to kind of talk about it, just go through some ideas, some things that I'm dealing with in my life right now. And why I think, this Mass being Sunday, being the holy day, it was a beautiful celebration. It kind of humbled me a little bit, and it gives me something a little bit deeper to think about. So welcome back to the 365 podcast. I make a podcast episode every single day for 365 days.
You will be hated for speaking the truth.
You definitely have like an X-ray goggles on, where you can see someone's aura.
A house divided against itself shall not stand. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25.
If you want to make something of yourself, forget your political beliefs.
Because different believers experience God in different ways, different non-believers need different explanations to see God as real. Things that make you angry suck you in.
Satan's plan fails, right? And God's plan prevails.
So in my life, a big problem for me has been my anger. It's been something that I struggle to deal with. Like when emotions are high, I really sometimes lose my cool. And for Lent, and the Palm Sunday also reminds me about like my whole Lenten promise, which is me giving up anger. I asked like myself the question, how well have I done at actually containing my anger? I think I actually probably did a little bit better than I had done. Like maybe a couple months ago, some things that I went through this past month probably would have made me snap, would have made me kind of hurt someone or insult someone or talk bad to someone. Whereas knowing that this is the Lenten promise I've made has allowed me, although not perfect, although I definitely had some moments that went a little bit too far. It was definitely like, I think it's helped. It's helped me kind of regulate these emotions that I have and try and be a little bit more humble, be a little bit more graceful, show a little bit more grace to the situations and to the people around me. And yeah, although I'm not perfect, I still fall. Like, it's an emotion. Sometimes it just takes over, but I think I've definitely done better. But in this thing that I'm dealing with, which is my anger, trying to contain it, trying to truly like do better in my life and not harm others, not hurt other people, truly like do the will of God and live my life by the will of God. I'm not perfect. A lot of times I do fall, right? But as I think about it, I think about how in today's Mass, we literally read the entire story. It was a longer Mass. It was like an hour and a half Mass, which doesn't usually happen, but because it's Palm Sunday, it's a special day, we're reminded of what Jesus has actually done for us. They decided to do this special celebration, and they probably do it every year. So it was actually very beautiful, and I really loved it. Some people might complain, be like, it was a long one. But it's like, I really do think it was a beautiful thing. We read from the book of Matthew the entire story, from the moment Judas betrayed Jesus to the Passover, and then all the way until right before his resurrection. Obviously, next week on Easter Sunday, we're going to talk about the resurrection. But right up till before the resurrection, until he actually was like dead on the cross. So that whole story, like that's like a good few chapters in the Bible talking about that story. So it was a very long one, and it was very beautifully read, but it basically kind of reminds us about, all the problems that you have going on. Just remember that your God has gone through way worse already. We already have the victory because he went through so much more suffering than you could even imagine to happen in your life. So whatever difficulties you might be dealing with, it gives you a little bit of peace to know that in comparison to what Jesus went through, it's absolutely nothing. So for me, I look at that and I'm like, man, like any moment of anger, any moment of pride, any moment of fear that I have throughout my days, it kind of like, it's just a reminder that like, no matter what sin I fall into, no matter what like bad feeling I have, like struggle, difficult emotional battle I'm dealing with, I know that no matter what, Jesus went through so much worse, and he did it all for me. He did it all for all of us. All who believe on him are saved. We're no longer saved by works. We're saved by faith in him because he went and suffered in the worst way imaginable to then allow us to receive that gift of salvation and sacrificed himself once and for all for the forgiveness of sins. And I think there's something to say that. I think there's something really important for that. So that's why I'm kind of reflecting on it. It's like on Palm Sunday, he came, he went to the city a week before he was set to be crucified. He showed up on riding a donkey, right? And that is a story of the ultimate version of humility. The fact that he is God, but he humbles himself and makes himself a man and makes himself a servant. Jesus himself says, "He that is great among you, let him be your servant." And that is what he dedicated his life towards, to all the people who followed him, to his disciples, to teach them to serve them, and to all of those who believed on him and the miracles he did. It was a life of serving, and him showing up on a donkey, being the king that shows up on the donkey rather than the king showing up on, like, the royalty, right? In the royalty, maybe back then it would be like a camel or whatever, a carriage or whatever they would have back then, as like a symbol of royalty. He comes on a donkey, which is not a symbol of royalty. It's a symbol of humility. The fact that that is what we are all called to do. So that is what Palm Sunday is, and that is what we are when we celebrate Palm Sunday every year. That is what we are. That is what we're marking. The fact that he showed up, and the reason why it's Palm Sunday is because people were waving palms as he was showing up, because people worshipped him as a king. But he was a king that came in with a donkey, right? So it's the ultimate act of humility. It's the ultimate act of him saying that it's not necessarily about him. He is not supposed to be the focal point. It is him being humble because he wants to help us. And then, of course, a week later, he goes through all of the terrors that we also read about today. That kind of is a mark to how much God, how much Jesus Christ loves all of us. The fact that these things did happen, and these things, like it truly symbolizes just the fact that you're not alone on this journey, that any struggle, any difficulty that you're dealing with, our God went through worse. Our God that saved us went through so much worse. So always know that, understand that. And it's like, if you put your faith in him, you'll be able to get through whatever difficulties you're dealing with. I've seen it many times in my life where I've had some difficult times, some pains, some physical pains, difficult pains, emotional pains, struggle for trying to actually do the will of God in many aspects of my life. And I'm still going through them today, but I've already seen God work in me to help me overcome a lot of the other issues I'm dealing with. Right now, it's just kind of the issue with anger and with pride that I really need to squash, I think, more than anything else. Obviously, we all sin in different ways every day, of course, but it gives me good peace of mind. It gives me really good confidence in the Lord to know that no matter what you go through, our God went through worse, and he wants us to do better. He went through so much worse for us, not for himself. It was never about himself. It was for us. And that is why is the ultimate act of humility. It's the ultimate act of salvation for us. And if we put our faith in something greater than ourselves, we will all truly be able to overcome any and all adversity. I truly do believe that. So I hope that this kind of gives you a little bit of hope in that way. Palm Sunday was a beautiful mass. It was a beautiful ceremony. There was actually a lot of people in church today, so I was actually pretty happy about that. The fact that, you have a lot of people that are actually appreciating and worshiping, which obviously it doesn't happen at every mass, but it was still great to see, because usually the church I go to does not have that many people showing up, and it's kind of sad. And today was great, though. Today was great. It was a great reading. We started the mass with the reading of Jesus and the blessing of the palms. People brought the palms in, and they blessed the palms, and they read about the story of how Jesus shows up with riding the donkey, right? And then, of course, we get into the mass, where then the gospel reading is like the whole story of his humble death, and how, again, he never argued, right? He had many opportunities to plead his case, to argue why he was actually the Son of God, to argue why he was innocent, why he didn't do anything wrong. He never did, for a reason, because he knew that this is what he had to do. So he did it with full assurance of faith. Of course, he didn't doubt it for a second, right? He had to. He had to pray to God, right? He had to pray to God because he was grieved in his spirit, because he knew these things were going to happen to him. But once, when push came to shove, right, he delivered in the greatest way possible, and he never once denied. He never once tried to defend himself, because he knew these things had to happen for our salvation. He knew that he was going to be the one to be the one called, and the one that will suffer all these things for the salvation of the many. So he did it with full assurance of faith and not doubting for a second. And doing that is like seeing that and reading that and kind of experiencing that. Just it shows me just how beautiful, how great the story is, and it just demonstrates how amazing our God is. And it also, again, is a moment of peace to realize that anything you're dealing with, like, it's nothing in comparison to what Jesus had to go through, and he went through it for us, so that what we're dealing with can be overcome through faith in him. So always stay faithful, no matter what. Always grow in faith, and whatever difficulty you're dealing with, whatever sin you fall into, we all sin. No one's perfect, and on this journey, we're all trying to walk this life, walk this line in the way that we can. It's never going to be perfect, but always remember that the God in which we believed in has done all these things already for us, and by putting our faith in Him, He will bring us out of all adversity, all troubles, all difficulties. So that is my message, the message of hope, right? The message of what God has done through Jesus Christ, the grace that is given to us, the mercy that is given to us. For we do sin and we do fail every day, but He will help us do better if we truly do put our faith in Him and truly do strive in our works to prove our faith by our works, to strive to actually do His will and to follow His teaching and kind of overcome the sins that we have, and putting our faith in Him. It is the rocket fuel to allow us to kind of go and achieve what we are truly capable of achieving in this life, this very short life, but blessed life that we have been given, each and every one of us. So that's all I got to say for today. It was a shorter one for today, but I think it was just a beautiful thing. I just wanted to talk about it. I just want to kind of give my own thoughts and my own things, being a little bit vulnerable about the things I'm dealing with in my life as well. To always look back to the cross and to what Jesus did, and it really does help me move forward from the issues I'm dealing with as well. So I appreciate you if you're still watching. As always, show your support in every way you can. Like the video, subscribe, and follow on Spotify if you have not done that yet. It is my goal to glorify God in all these episodes. Sometimes I fail, of course. Probably many times I fail. I fall short. But I try my best, and hopefully today was a day where I did say what needed to be said with regards to what I experienced and what I wanted to talk about today. So as always, I encourage you and I invite you to go out and glorify God in all that you do through your life. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this episode of the 365 podcast. Go watch some other episodes if you haven't yet, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next one.